All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because we all face decision fatigue every single day. I mean, from what to eat for breakfast all the way up to how to allocate a massive multi-million-dollar corporate budget, our brains are constantly processing choices. But as the complexity of our world increases, we absolutely need a more structured way to navigate these choices. So today, we're exploring a comprehensive taxonomy of decision-making models. So let me start by asking you a question. Are you still making million-dollar decisions with a simple pros and cons list? Honestly, it's a serious question, because relying purely on gut intuition or pulling out a basic, binary list for high-stakes strategic choices, that is an incredibly dangerous game to play. And this beautifully illustrates exactly why. This map is essentially our master navigator's toolkit. It lays out the vast landscape of decision-making frameworks. We've got entirely different continents of methodologies here, ranging from super simple evaluation tools to highly complex data-driven financial models. Today, we're going to journey straight across this map so you can equip yourself with the exact right tool for your specific challenge. To keep things moving, here is our roadmap for today. We have 1. Simple everyday evaluation tools. 2. Multi-criteria decision-making. 3. Customer-driven design models. 4. Behavioral and strategic frameworks. And 5. Choosing the right model. Let's get into it. Starting with Section 1, Simple Everyday Evaluation Tools, or Navigating the Shallow Waters. The most famous of these is, of course, the classic pros and cons list, originated by Benjamin Franklin. Now, this is a qualitative binary evaluation technique. It's extremely fast, it's incredibly intuitive, and it's fantastic for taking a quick cognitive inventory. But it has a fatal flaw. We call it the weighting gap. It doesn't inherently account for the importance of different factors, which means visually, a minor little inconvenience on your list could seemingly cancel out a massive project-killing risk, and obviously, that's not how reality works. To fix that weighting gap, we have to upgrade to the decision matrix. Sometimes you'll hear it called a POO matrix. So instead of just listing the good and the bad, your alternatives are scored against a predefined set of weighted criteria right in a grid. By attaching numerical weights to specific criteria, this tool brilliantly standardizes what would otherwise be a completely subjective debate. It literally turns personal opinions into a quantifiable total score. Moving on to Section 2, Multi-Criteria Decision-Making. This is where we are diving into the deep ocean. The heavyweight champion down here is the Analytic Hierarchy Process, or AHP, developed by Thomas Soddy. AHP is built for those heavily complex, multi-stakeholder decisions, where your criteria are just incredibly difficult to quantify directly. So instead of wildly guessing at weights, it decomposes the decision into a hierarchy, starting from your main goal all the way down to specific criteria and alternatives. The actual mechanics of AHP are just fascinating. You define the goal, and then you perform what are called pairwise comparisons. You only ever compare two things at a single time, basically asking, okay, how much more important is X than Y? But the real magic happens in step 4, the consistency check. AHP uses eigenvalue math, which acts like a built-in lie detector to actually detect if human judgments are becoming too contradictory to be reliable. It literally tells you if your own logic is flawed. Also swimming in this deep ocean are models designed explicitly for handling uncertainty. Monte Carlo simulations, for example, run thousands of potential simulated futures to predict probabilities, while decision trees map out sequential choices and chance events to calculate the expected monetary value. Look, when you're dealing with heavy financial risk and you have to navigate complex probabilistic paths, these are absolutely your go-to tools. All right, Section 3, Customer-Driven Design Models. Now we're exploring the customer's continent. First up on this continent is Quality Function Deployment, or QFD. It centers around a highly structured matrix known as the House of Quality. QFD is all about systematically translating the squishy, qualitative voice of the customer into hard technical specifications. Imagine a customer saying, I want a really quiet vacuum cleaner, right? QFD takes that vague desire and translates it directly into specific motor RPMs, blade designs, and acoustic insulation metrics for the engineering team. And then we have conjoint analysis, which is just a brilliant statistical technique. We all know that if you ask customers what they want, they'll say they want every single feature for the lowest possible price. Well, conjoint analysis fixes this by presenting users with product bundles. It forces consumers to make realistic, real-world trade-offs between price and features. By analyzing those choices, it mathematically extracts the exact value, the utility that people place on individual features, making it highly predictive of actual buying behavior. Which brings us to Section 4, Behavioral and Strategic Frameworks, Navigating the Fast Rapids. A famous example here is the OODA loop, developed by the military strategist John Boyd. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. It's not about spreadsheets. It's a continuous, rapid-fire cycle. Think cybersecurity, emergency response, intense business competition. The core idea is that whoever can cycle through this loop the fastest completely outmaneuvers their opponent. It prioritizes sheer agility and continuous learning over waiting around for perfect data. Then there's the sign-off-in framework. This one is amazing because it helps leaders figure out how to manage a problem before they ever even try to solve it. It categorizes problems into 4 contexts: clear, complicated, complex, or chaotic. This brilliantly prevents leaders from grabbing the wrong tool. Like, you definitely don't want to try applying standard best practices to a highly unpredictable, complex crisis where rapid experimentation is actually what you need to survive. Now, we also have to take a second to acknowledge human limits. The classical rational economic model assumes we can evaluate all alternatives and optimize everything perfectly. But Herbert Simon introduced the concept of satisficing based on bounded rationality. It's simply the realization that humans have limited cognitive capacity and limited time. Often the smartest move is to just search until we hit an acceptable, good enough threshold, rather than endlessly seeking perfection. Building directly on that reality is the Recognition Primed Decision, or RPD model. This perfectly explains how deep experts, like seasoned firefighters or veteran industry executives, are able to act instantly under extreme pressure. They aren't pulling out decision matrices in a burning building. Instead, they leverage their deep experience to instantly recognize familiar patterns, mentally simulate a single viable action, and then execute it immediately. Finally, Section 5, Choosing the Right Model, the Navigator's Summary. We have covered a lot of ground today, and the crucial point is synthesizing all this data. I highly recommend taking a mental screenshot of this summary matrix. If you need a rapid, intuitive check, go with pros and cons. Need to standardize a messy, subjective team debate? Grab the decision matrix. Facing a massively complex strategic choice that needs serious mathematical rigor? Deploy AHP. Building a brand new product? You need QFD and conjoint analysis. And if you find yourself in a chaotic, rapidly changing environment, lean hard on the OODA loop. The secret is matching your specific problem to the proper methodology. So, that brings us to our final thought. The landscape of decision-making is incredibly vast, and honestly, relying solely on your gut is pretty much obsolete. So the next time you face a complex, high-stakes choice, which rigorous framework will you deploy from the Master Navigator's Toolkit to upgrade your decision? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy navigating.